Today, Kenyans taking to the polls to vote for its new president. Let's get an update now of how Election Day is going from journalist Akello Odenyo, who is joining me now live from Nairobi. Thank you very much, Akello, for your time here on eNCA. Now, first of all, how is day one of how is the day going, rather, of these elections? We know that the voting polls close at around 11 p.m. tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Sorry, I'm trying to move to a quieter place. It has been crazy. So the election started well. Everything is going on well. A lot of places that I've visited in Nairobi, the voter turnout is okay. Generally, most places are actually fine, except for a place. One presidential candidate has not been able to vote until now. His location is in Matungu constituency, which is in Kakamega, the western part of Kenya. He says there has been delays on the KIMS kit, which is the electronic transfer of votes to the polling station. So identification way of it is the electronic way of voter identification. So he has not been able to vote all through, but all the other three candidates have been able to vote, and there hasn't been much complaints apart from that. Yesterday there were some positions that were suspended, the specifically gubernatorial position, because the ballot papers had issues, but otherwise today everything is going on well.
All right, so Akello, any delays and logistical problems except in the area of that candidate? I mean, I remember back in 2017, the voting had to be recounted or the elections were annulled. The Supreme Court of Appeal saying that the Electoral Commission didn't do what it was supposed to back then. So when you say there are a few delays, when you observe how elections are going, will Kenya be able to avoid what happened back in 2017?
We really hope, because there's a backup manual register, but we really hope that it will be sorted out. Because right now, from when you're speaking, there's only one county that is actually experiencing the delays. And IBC said that the officials of IBC had a brief with the journalists, and they said they were addressing that. Some polling stations delayed to open. Some of them opened at 1 hour later, which is 7 a.m. That caused a little bit of panic, and the voters started getting agitated. But everything so far in Nairobi specifically, everything has been flowing on just well. And so we hope that a repeat of 2017 will not happen.
And a repeat of 2007. I mean, you remember back then there was quite a lot of violence. I know it was, a long time ago comparing to what happened in recent days. But I mean, for instance, 1,200 people were estimated to have died, etc., back in 2007 during those elections. And we're hearing from the human rights lawyers that people have basically not been allowed to exercise their rights to protest in Kenya, etc. So will we be able to avoid even what happened in 2007, at least from your observation?
Yeah, in the beginning, there was a lot of complaints about people not being allowed to protest. But there have been a number of protests following that. And it means the freedom of assembly has just generally been allowed after that. From the number of people whom I've interviewed, they believe that these elections would actually be very peaceful. And so in the past, you would see so much movement during the election period. There would be a lot of movement, people moving from places that are considered volatile to places that they feel safer. But that has really reduced this time round, and we're not seeing people moving. In fact, most of the people who are moving say they are moving because they are going to places where they want to vote. There are specific places that actually have very low voter turnout, and I do not understand why. We were talking to the residents, and there's just a little bit of laxity, especially in places where the elections, some positions have been suspended, because they say they see no reason to go out and vote if the person they were actually getting out to vote for is missing. But generally, it's all peaceful today, and we expect the same throughout.
And just lastly, I'll ask you a question for a bit of analysis from you. Raila Odinga comes into these elections for a fifth time. He's trying to be voted in for a fifth time, while Mr. Ruto, this will be his very first. According to what you're seeing and the people that you've been speaking to on the ground, who seems to be the favorite? Is it a guy who's going for a fifth consecutive time, or a man who's coming up to try and be president for the very first time?
This time round, the Kenyan elections are very interesting. It has really changed from the ethnic tribe that we used to know, the ethnic part, and it has now moved a little bit to more of a class. And so people are divided in terms of class, the rich and the poor. The Deputy President, William Ruto, mostly has the poor, who he's terming his campaign as the hustler. He calls himself the hustler. And the whole ideology of his campaign just basis of how he's going to empower people in the, economically challenged now to be able to, have money in their pocket. That is the whole slogan of the campaign. And so he is relating more to younger people because of the high unemployment rate in the country. But for Raila Odinga, he's relating to a little bit of the older people from 35 and above because of the historic memory of him. He's known to have fought for Kenya's democracy, Kenya's multi-party rule. And so he is more popular among people who are over 35 years and generally people who are interested in history and politics. So it's a little bit very difficult to tell who is the favorite because it's really, really divided and it's 50. So it can topple either way.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, very difficult to tell who exactly will.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for painting us that picture and giving us an update on those elections happening in Kenya. That was Kenyan journalist Akello Odenyo, who was joining us live from Nairobi.